Van Jones of CNN spoke with progressive congressional candidates Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and they had a really insightful, I think, conversation about the supposed conundrum that Democrats face. So, on one hand, there's this belief that they've got to appeal to white working class voters, and on the other hand, people contend that they need to appeal to the concerns of marginalized communities and focus more on social issues, since women of color, especially, are their most loyal demographic. And I've long maintained on the show that that is essentially a false dichotomy, because issues related to the economy and social justice issues, these are things that are inextricably linked. You shouldn't separate them, and really you can't separate them if you want to have a genuine discussion about meaningful policy. And what I'm saying was essentially echoed in this clip, but I think that they describe the situation in a more eloquent way than I ever could.
When you talk about the working class people of color identify with the Democratic Party, but increasingly working class white folks, especially working class white men, say, hey, look, you guys are more concerned about immigration and all these other issues. You don't care about me. Do you have to choose as a Democrat now between sticking up for some of these racial and gender issues and working class issues for people of color and appealing to the white guys?
No, and I think that is the ultimate trap that is set up, that we have to choose between race or class, and we have to choose a side and what to advocate for, when really all of these things are so interwoven.
And I want to add, I think ultimately we have to think about what is our common struggle. And in this country right now, right, everybody is part of that common struggle. We all want, right, economic security for working people. We all want to make sure that there is vibrancy within our economy by making sure that young people are freed from the shackles of student debt.
Look, all that sounds great. Do you feel that Democrats come across that way now? Because sometimes I think other people will tell me when I'm in the red states, it feels like everybody's really not welcome anymore. And if you don't say it exactly the right way with the right word and intersectionality and blah, 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 then you're going to get smacked down. Now, that doesn't seem very inviting to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think...
Can you fix that? How are you going to fix that?
Well, I think ultimately it's how each of us as individuals choose to interact with those who are not like us. I may have very strong convictions and principles about what justice in America looks like, but really it's going to be listening that heals this nation, and when people feel heard in all of their pain, wherever that pain comes from.
I mean, and I think ultimately, too, it is avoiding the trap, right? It's avoiding that, saying that one particular issue is more important than another one. Because when we're talking about, the kind of America we believe in, the kind of America we deserve, we are talking about an America that includes everyone, that uplifts everyone, that secures prosperity for everyone.
Let me just...
So that was absolutely fantastic, and these two women give me so much hope for the future of politics, and I hope both of them are elected, because I have no doubt that they would be fearless advocates for progressives. Now, getting to the specifics here, Ocasio-Cortez says that is the ultimate trap that is set up, that we have to choose between race or class, and that we have to choose a side in what to advocate for, when really all of these things are so interwoven. That is so true. You can't separate economic issues from issues related to social justice. You can't do that. And to describe it as a trap is really important, because it shows that anyone who talks this way is being disingenuous. Anyone who says, well, you need to focus on social justice issues exclusively, or you need to focus on getting the white working class, they're wrong, and they're giving Democrats bad advice. Now, before I get into more of what I think, Ilhan Omar said, ultimately, we have to think about what is our common struggle. And in this country right now, everybody is part of the common struggle. We all want economic security for working people. We all want to make sure that there is vibrancy within our economy by making sure that young people are free from the shackles of student debt. And I couldn't agree more, because when you really set up this dichotomy of us versus them within a contingent of the electorate that's supposed to be aligned, the left, you really just set yourself up for failure. And what they're saying here matters, because if you want to appeal to voters and have messaging that will have the broadest reach possible, then you can't just focus on the white working class or people of color. You have to do both simultaneously. You have to. And really, this has only become a topic of discussion since the 2016 election, when centrists accused Bernie Sanders of not focusing enough on social justice issues, and when progressives accused Hillary Clinton of not focusing at all on economic issues. Fairly so, I think. Now, the truth is, issues related to race and social justice, those are progressive issues. Those are populist issues. The American people are on our side when it comes to social issues. And additionally, when it comes to the working class, it makes no sense at all to disaggregate the working class. Why do people speak about the white working class when we should be talking about the totality of the working class? Because policies that would economically help the whole working class, well, that appeals to everyone. That appeals to black working class voters, Latina and Latino working class voters, white working class voters. I mean, we all want the same thing. So policies like Medicare for All obviously would benefit everyone, but of course, we still have to go further and really target issues related to social justice and be as loud as we possibly can be about the need for criminal justice reform. And we need to be on the side of people who are speaking out against police brutality. And really, these are things that the Democratic Party has basically always advocated for, and they're certainly things that liberals and progressives in general have always advocated for, but centrist Democrats only recently started to disaggregate these two things in order to maintain support from corporate America. Because let's face it, when you support gay marriage, that doesn't hurt corporate profits. So Democrats can be as vocal as they possibly can be when it comes to those types of social issues, even if it took them a really fucking long time. But they can be as vocal as they want to, and they're not really going to see much threats from their donors who are going to say, well, if you support this issue, we're going to withhold funding. But if they choose to get on board with a policy like Medicare for All, well, that's a lot more difficult for them because there's a cost. So if they say, we want to make a Medicare for All system a reality, what's going to happen? Then that existentially threatens the health insurance industry, who spends millions of dollars helping Democrats get elected. So there's a cost associated with that. So what do Democrats do to kind of offset that cost and kind of have it both ways? Well, lately they've been focusing more on social issues because that's one way they can kind of prove to us that they're still liberal while still doing the bidding of corporate America. So it was convenient for them to disaggregate, the social justice issues from the economic issues when they never should have done that. If you just focus on social justice issues but ignore issues that affect the working class, you're not liberal. And conversely, if you focus on just economic issues and you ignore racial justice issues, I don't think you're liberal. But what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar are saying here is that you have to do both. You have to be the whole package. You have to be someone who's going to be a fierce advocate for racial justice and economic equality. And this is the exact strategy Democrats have got to have in order to win. And to see them say this in the mainstream media is so refreshing, because this is something that progressives like myself have been screaming about since it became clear that, the Democratic Party establishment is trying to convince us that social justice issues and economic issues are different, when that's not the case. They've always been related. If you're progressive, you look at these issues and they're one and the same. They're both equally important and they're interwoven, as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said. So I was incredibly happy when I saw them talk about this, and it's such a phenomenal point. And I'm so hopeful, because of candidates like this, that we actually can affect change.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.